Just before you go into the issues, which we'll delve into shortly, why do you want an open investigation? As we've pointed out, the Senate is investigating. They come up periodically to say this is what we've learned so far. This is what we're being told so far. We don't know what the investigation is going to bring out eventually. But it would seem that we cannot totally discount politics. Yes, you owe the Nigerian people a duty, but we're not unaware of the fact that there are elections in 2015, just how many months down the line. And this could also be a matter for politics.
Two things, my way. If truly, which is totally hogwash, it was a matter of security, and that's why the PDP members did not want to debate it. We could have gone into executive session, away from the cameras, away from everybody, and we do it all the time to discuss even less or more trivial issues. We go to executive session and we debate this issue. Now, what happened on the floor was not for investigation. It was a debate as to whether or not there were prayers that came after that to send it to the security committee or set up an ad hoc committee, whatever it was. But the issue there was that should we debate whether this thing should be sent for investigation? That was the issue.
No, but they took a vote. I think they put it to the floor, to the House.
Well,
they took a vote, and the nays had it.
Well, you see, unfortunately, these things have been muddled up. You don't take a vote. First of all, that matter came up about a week prior. Honorable Kawu brought it up as a matter of urgent public importance. And
he didn't show up there after this.
He brought it up as a matter of urgent public importance. The House took a vote, and they agreed to debate it. The House agreed to debate it. So it came up the following week. Perhaps it wasn't there. But whenever it came up on the notice paper, it was meant for debate. You don't put that question at that point. You don't put that question. He moves his motion, it's seconded, and the debate starts.
But they said there was a time that he was not around when it was supposed to have been taken. They moved it further.
That's neither here nor there. That's not
important. Then they said when they moved it further, it wasn't. They put a question to the House whether or not they should debate it. And they said after the nays had it.
That question should not have been put to the House. That was a procedural error, and I think it was intentional.
But what was the procedure? They should have just gone ahead and debated it.
They should have, because that question had already been put prior when he brought up a motion for public. That's why I was on the notice paper in the first place. We had agreed to debate it. All he needed to have done was to stand up, move his motion, have it seconded, and at that point the debate starts. You now put the question. After the debate, you now put the question, should this pass or not? Should this be sent to the committee or not? And then you can put the question, and then you can say yes or no.
Well, anyway, you're not a spokesperson of your party, but the opposition has been mentioned more than once when Fani Kayode was also speaking here. Perhaps maybe you should also clear this. If they say some powerful persons, though he didn't mention names, but he said categorically the opposition is hell-bent on making that, you discredit the integrity of the nation. What exactly is the opposition's stand in this whole procurement issue for the military?
Well, I will not want to actually give credit to anybody who advances that argument, such a lame argument. But let's, for the purposes of discussion, let's even assume that the opposition, the South Africans, the Americans were all, in cahoot and trying to embarrass the government. The question for me becomes, what did the government do for that embarrassment? What they are saying, what the opposition is saying, what the South Africans are doing, they are accusing the federal government wrongly. That's the issue that needs to be addressed, not the motivation behind it. Was a crime committed? You see, when you start talking about motivation, especially when it's not true, and you leave the substance, then there's something wrong with that picture. The question should be, forget the opposition, forget the Americans, forget the South Africans. Did we commit an illegality? Now, if in your own country, and we talk about impunity all the time, it appears now we're even exporting that impunity. We're not satisfied with impunity within our own region. We're now exporting it to other countries. And they will not take it. If you can bag $9.3 million into suitcases and carry on, ferry out of the country on a plane, and without declaring it, breaking all customs laws, all fiscal laws, all the firearms laws, money laundering act, several laws of this country were broken. Now, if you choose to do that because you have the power to do that, it doesn't mean that the South Africans should accept for you to break their own laws, because they have laws too.
Well, speaking about their own laws, because for those who have advanced the argument saying, okay, well, yes, we also need to find out if we broke their laws. But on their part, if in the first instance it was, if they say it was wrongly gone there, ferry through the aircraft, it was not declared, but then the second one, which was paid through a bank transaction, which they say banks always act as intermediaries or as brokers for some of these firms, and then the bank over there was trying to, or they were trying to pay it back to the country, then they come in and hold on to the money. So it raises more questions, saying, okay, what exactly happened here? And then the way it hit the press, the headlines, to malign the country, and then given the fact that, look, there's an end user certificate from our NSA, shouldn't South African government call Nigerian government and say, listen, what's going on here? This has happened once, this is the second time, but there's no report of such communication between them. And then this hits the press.
So I'll flip that around. I'll say, should the Nigerian government call the South African government immediately and say, hey guys, what's going on? Why are you doing this? There's no report of any such, which to me suggests there's something somewhere that you and I don't know. And that's why we called for a probe. That's why we called for an investigation. Let's unravel all these facts. Everything else is speculation.
No, I'm talking about for this second one.
Yeah.
Because for the first one, I'm not sure, maybe I could be wrong. I'm not sure there was any mention of any end user certificates or the government signing off on it, but there was one report which was said that when the SA government says, look, the arguments or the reasons Nigerian government advanced was not tenable. And so you then wonder, well, as far as that is concerned. But for the second one, doesn't it have more questions about, look, both countries, there's something amiss?
Well, we don't have the facts. I cannot speak much to it's very sketchy right now. But whatever the case, I don't think the South African government, I mean, because the way it's been narrated, money was sent by a company to another, the transaction did not pan out, and they're sending the money back. Simple. And I don't think the South African government will then seize the money. The prosecuting authorities will seize the money. They've gotten a court judgment to seize that money. They wouldn't go that far. Because we're talking about diplomatic issues here. I don't think the South African government is that irresponsible.
But what if it turns out that this is just all about rivalry, maybe about some diplomatic spat which we're not aware of? What will the stand of the opposition be on that?
If it's about what? Just some diplomatic rivalry?
Yes.
I don't want to think about that. You know why? Because I think South Africa may have a lot more to lose if they were to break diplomatic or get into some diplomatic scuffle with Nigeria. They have a lot of interest here. They're making a lot of money here, economic interest. I don't think they'll go there that far. There's subtle ways and more effective ways if you're trying to get back at some other country because you have some kind of rivalry between you. They wouldn't go this far. The question we need to ask is, what has Nigeria done? Is this thing above board? I mean, they talked about $1 billion loan. The question for me again was, this $15 million or $9.3 million, was that part of the $1 trillion we gave last year? If it was appropriated, it was part of the $1 trillion that we gave. If the answer is yes, then why did you ask us for another $1 billion? If there's still money in the kitty that you're using to do these things, what do you need the $1 billion for? If the answer is no, then where did this 9.3 come from? If the answer is no, where did the $9.3 million come from? So there's so many questions that need to be.
Are you worried though that we are not able to purchase arms legally? Because that's the story we're being told. Are you worried? I mean, how does this impact the battle against terrorism?
What the Nigerian government needs to, from what I understand, it was to do with human rights and a lot of other things, and we were one of the only countries that there was an embargo on because of our human rights record. And what we need to see as a National Assembly, as Nigerians, is that what moves have you made with the U.S. government to lift this embargo? in the face of what we're experiencing in Nigeria today? Those are the questions that we need to ask.
What about legislative diplomacy?
Well, this is the first time it's coming to us that there's an embargo. We only found out about a month ago. All the questions that we've always asked this, we've always brought them in. They've never told us that they had problems purchasing. They only asked us for money to purchase. So we thought everything was dandy and rosy. They told us that they needed money, and we gave them all the money they needed. Nobody ever said we had a problem purchasing arms. And if you look at...
Even though it's all about the papers? All about the media?
Until recently, I said.
Okay.
Until recently. They never told the National Assembly. Until recently.
But if it turns out that some people are actually trying to frustrate the country from getting arms, can the National Assembly come in and find out, okay, what really is going on with a view to sorting the problem out?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But then again, look, there was a time we called the president, come to the National Assembly, come talk to us, let us know exactly, let's put heads together, let's know exactly what's going on. They played politics with it. They said, no, the president cannot come to the National Assembly, you have no right to summon the president, and blah, blah, blah. We wouldn't be here today if everybody was working in tandem. We would not be here today. I really personally, I feel there's $9.3 million, which is what, and there was the shopping list, from entire shopping list, helicopters, ammunition, rockets, and I ask a question that with all those things that were on the shopping list, would $9.3 million be enough? Which raises again the second question from the other school of thought, that were they really going to buy arms? Or was this just money laundering, pure and simple?
But would the government sign off deliberately if it was money laundering?
I have no idea what's going on. It's just questions that need to be answered. That's all. Okay, well, that's where I had to let it go. Thank you for coming on this morning. Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila is a minority leader in the House of Representatives. We'll have another perspective actually on this matter, so join us again in a moment.